without limits or judgment. A place for you and people like you to tell your most effed up stories. Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Effed Up Stories. I am your host, Will Pender.
And I am your co-host, Ryan Sharp.
And tonight we will be speaking with Chad Hawkins, who's going to tell us about his experiences with the Men in Black. Now, before we get into that, I'd just like to point out, if any of you have any of your own paranormal stories, pictures, videos, anything along those lines, we want it. So if you could send that to us by visiting our official website at www.effedupstories.com. That's EFFEDUPSTORIES.com. Go to submissions from the menu, fill out the form, send us your stuff. You could get on the show, definitely on the website. And so you'll be one of our guests, perhaps. With that said, hello, Chad, and welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, guys.
Good afternoon. How you doing, Chad?
Oh, I'm doing good. It's been an interesting week.
So let's start from the beginning. You've had some experiences with the Men in Black. Let's go back to the root.
All right. Well, yeah, it's a bit of a long story, but I don't mind telling it. So if you guys have any questions anytime, or anybody else does, just tell me to stop and ask your questions.
Okay.
So it goes back to 2004. As you guys know, I live in Arizona, out here in the U.S. And I was on the phone late at night because I'm a night owl. My friend, I'm going to refer to her as T, so I can protect her identity at her request. So I was talking to my friend T on the phone, and it's probably about 2:30 in the morning. And I got a good view of the Superstition Mountains, and here comes this bright light. And I thought nothing of it, maybe just a fire on the mountain. And I see a craft. I can't really describe it. I could draw it and post a picture of it. But this craft comes up over the mountain. And I'm explaining to her what I'm seeing. And then it takes this unusual flight pattern, like diagonally down, then straight across, and then diagonally up and sideways, and it takes off. And there's four more that show up, about 3 or 4 more. One of them beamed my neighbor's yard. The pitch black, their yard lit up in a blinding light. And then also about 5 seconds later, the light turns off and it takes off. And then I'm hearing helicopters and stuff the whole time, explaining this to her, to my friend T. And then I decided, you know what? I'm going to bed. I can't believe I just saw this. I'm going to bed. And then go ahead.
So that's an interesting thing. Like, usually in the case of UFO stuff, I mean, you'd think that when you see this kind of thing, you want to go tell people, like, holy shit, I just seen, I seen this, I seen that. But a lot of times in these cases, you just want to go to bed for whatever reason. People just, it's outside of what we would expect, but it's a common theme.
It is, but also given the time that it was, and the fact that at that time I was suffering bouts of insomnia. Uh, if some people's insomnia, you think maybe you're just hallucinating because you haven't slept in a while.
Okay.
And no, that's kind of my thing. It's also like, oh my God, I needed the time to process what I just saw. So the next morning, there was not a knock, but pounding on my door. I answered the door, and there's a gentleman from the Air Force dressed in Class A's. I don't know who the hell wants to dress in Class A's here in Arizona. He had two MPs with him in full fatigues and two more gentlemen in black suits and fedora-like hats. And that's what caught my eye. It's like, wait a minute, who the hell wears a black suit in 100-degree weather? He starts. It's the general. Well, we have the lieutenant's telling me who he is. He's with the Air Force, and you know we have reason to believe you saw this, yada yada. Every you hear it all the time, and here's what you. This is what you didn't see. This is what you did see. Yeah, the general song and dance.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So he gives me general song and dance, and the whole time I'm staring at these two guys in the black suits. They don't fit in with the military. What got me too is they're tall and thin, and they never blinked, and kind of like hypnotic blue eyes. That's what got me, and I felt very, very paranoid.
Now that's a very classic report that people give is the eyes have and that's the word that's almost always used is a hypnotic quality. That's interesting.
Were there any other physical traits on their face? That seemed out of place.
The fact that their eyes were unusually big, and it was mainly their eyes were disproportionate to their head.
Okay.
Mhm.
And and they were. I've seen clean shaven, but I could swear that at least one of these guys has never ever had facial hair. His face was so like smooth. It was disturbing.
And that's another thing that you hear a lot. In fact, some people have described the skin as almost like a plasticky look, like not necessarily human skin. It was too perfect.
It was only one of that was on the one on the right, the taller of the two.
Okay.
And after, I kind of, with this lieutenant while he's talking to me, telling me what it was, I'm just like, yeah, don't worry. And, kind of lying to him too. I wasn't on the phone. Well, we have reason to believe you saw this. Well, maybe I did. And before he left, he had said, by the way, you may not want to talk about what it is you think you saw last night. Because you go around telling too many people, these two gentlemen, he pointed to the guys in the black suits, and he said, these two may have to visit your door, and that will not be a good thing. And they left. And the two guys in the black suits waited for the Air Force personnel to leave. And then they kind of just turned on their heel and walked away. And it was like in perfect, disturbing unison.
Okay.
And they never said anything to you the whole time?
Not one word. Not one word. They just stood there and stared at me and made me feel very uncomfortable. I was actually paranoid for the next few weeks, and what scared me more, I tried to call T to warn her, hey, by the way, I just got visited by the Air Force, but I couldn't get a hold of her. And later that day, a black SUV kept cruising by my house, and it was the same one.
So I always find it interesting that that they would know that somebody saw this anyway. I mean, the fact that they know somebody saw this unusual occurrence, it would almost assume you'd have to assume that they're monitoring everyone in the area anyway, just to know that. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah.
That's another really common report that people make is, I seen a UFO on a deserted highway and I got home and before I even got home that day, my wife tells me that two people, two guys in suits visited my house. So you do get this unnerving ability for them to just seemingly know who actually was looking up at that moment. It's a very eerie quality to the whole phenomenon. Please
Exactly,
continue.
and oh yeah, and the thing that got me at that time too, I was into UFOs and studying UFOs and other paranormal things, and it's sad to say that at that time I didn't even know that the Men in Black could be a real thing. Was what was the bigger problem there? I just figured maybe there's feds, but why would the feds be with they say anything? But the other thing that got me too is I began to notice that the next day when I was home by myself, there's a black van parked across the street from my house the entire day. I didn't sleep well the night before. Now this black van parked outside the house, and I didn't really have it. I spent the whole day trying to get in touch with my friend T, and then I keep seeing this van, and I'm sitting here, thinking, God, just go away. What did I do? What do you want? But I'm not going to go out there and talk to him. I just felt I didn't want to leave the house. I felt scared. Eventually, I had to go to my college classes, and there's a black vehicle there, and as I've told you before, the black vehicle kept showing up in the parking lot where I went to college. There was a day I didn't go to school. I came back the next day, and my classmates were saying, "Hey, there's some guys here asking questions about you and asking, if you've been talking about anything interesting." I was like, "Well, what'd you tell them?" Just say you're a weird guy, and everything you talk about is weird.
That's pretty good.
And I was like, and I said, "Well, what do they want?" They said, "I don't know." And this particular classmate talking to me, he's a mixed martial arts fighter, and I said, "Well," I'm sorry if they were like bothering you. He said, "No, honestly, I was scared." And I'm like, "Dude, you're never scared." He goes, "I don't know. These guys creep me the fuck out." Excuse my language if we can't be using language like that on the podcast.
No,
That's
curse
fine.
and swear. We like it. It's a
Awesome,
selling
dude.
point.
He told me he told me these guys fucking creeped him out, and for him to talk like that is unusual. The fact that he said that they fucking creeped him out. The fact that anybody could scare him, because I've seen this guy take on a Hell's Angel. He's not the kind of guy that gets scared easily. And he said these guys scared him, and they described him very similar to two guys in suits, very tall, very thin. One of them did the talking. One of them just stared at him.
So really, it's like it's a presence that these men in black have. I mean, it's not so much what they say or do; it's just their very presence seems to get this overwhelming sense of fear come over anyone who encounters them. And I don't know if it's just something, like a sixth sense kind of a thing, or if it's just the fact that you can kind of tell that there's something a little off about them. There's something, like you said, like they look like one of them never had grown facial hair. There's just these little tiny subtle.
You get that creepy, what is it? They call it the creepy valley response.
Oh,
right?
the chill up your spine, all the hair on your body standing up, and like just you feel very tiny, like you want to get back in the rabbit hole. Go find Alice and send her out in your stead.
Yeah.
This is where it gets interesting, though. Is after I got home from my classes that day, I went to go check because I made a post about what I had seen on a UFO website I was on. I was blocked from the site. It's been so long I don't remember the name of the site, but I was blocked from it. I contacted the admin and said, "Hey, what gives?" I was like, "I'm getting emails saying that my shit's gone." I was like, "Can you unblock me?" He said, I'm not the one that blocked you, but I'll go check." I hear back from a while later, and all he said was, "You were blocked from the site. I can't unblock you. I will not unblock you. I'm sorry. You're going to have to go do your posting somewhere else." And that was very uncharacteristic of him.
So it's almost like they must have talked to him and said, if you unblock him, you're toast. Or maybe he got his own visit. But
I don't know. He'd never tell me why.
Well, the thing that's that I find very interesting is the fact that they're going to great lengths to make sure that you don't talk. You know what I mean? It's not just a threatening you at the door, but I mean they're keeping tabs on you. They're following you around. Even websites that you go to and going through the trouble of getting you blocked. So I mean, what is it? I mean, people report UFOs all the time. I've seen
Well,
it.
but whatever. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt you there, Will. But I don't know what it was, but this is where it gets better too. That weekend, we have a local airfield right by where I live, where they do air shows. They store old planes. And you can do skydiving lessons there for an unsettling amount of money. We were going to go for our first skydive, and it was closed. And that place is never closed. And all they told us was there's some testing going on with the military. At this time, we can't allow civilians on the field. We will issue a statement on our website when we're reopened.
So what do you think it is that you saw that was so? I mean, it's spectacular, I guess, to see a UFO anyway. But
Oh yeah,
what differentiates what you saw from what thousands of other UFO sightings, where the men in black are going to those great lengths to keep you quiet? I mean, they don't.
considering the fact that other than the Phoenix Lights, which it's a whole other subject here, I did see both times that the Phoenix Lights were here. I think it's just like the Phoenix Lights, and that actually is going to play into something here in a little bit. But I think it's the fact that most people, you hear that they say they saw one or two UFOs, and as I said, I saw about 4, maybe 5 of them come up over that mountain. And the fact that one of them was right next door, being my neighbor's yard, and I saw this, and I'm giving details to my friend T over the phone, word for word what I'm seeing. And the worst part was I was on a landline. She was on a cell phone, so that's probably how they got me. But this fact I saw about 4 or 5 because I was saying, wow, there's more lights coming over the mountain. What the hell is this? They're like, I've never seen these kind of craft before. And she's like, are you sure you're not seeing things? Like, no, I'm not just seeing things. It's like I'm telling you what I'm seeing. T, come on now. Like, I'm not one to lie. She said, you're not. And I think it's the fact I saw that many of them. So for all I know, in a lot of my research in UFOs, I probably saw something landed on Earth and came up and over, and they wanted to detain it and control it. And here I am. I saw it. I can identify these craft. I can draw pictures with my eyes closed of the way these craft look, and put everything where it belongs. So
See, I guess that's one of the the fact that the UFO phenomenon in itself it is so mysterious. I mean, we really have no real hard evidence to say it is one thing or the other. So when people see a light in the sky and it's just a light in the sky and they report it, and then nobody comes and does the Men in Black thing, and then another guy reports a light in the sky and the Men in Black show up at his door. I mean, people have puzzled for decades really over what made that special over, and I've given that some thought. And I the only thing that would really make sense to me is the ones that are reported that maybe they don't know what it is either. Those are the
and,
ones that they try to keep quiet. Now, if they know that, oh, that was something belonged to us, or it was something belong even to, maybe a extraterrestrial that we know of, then, maybe they don't care. But if it was something that was truly a mystery even to them, maybe that's why they try to clam us up. But again,
and
it's all speculation.
But
It's such a mysterious subject.
well,
But
the
that's
thing,
just wanted to throw that out there.
well, the thing that kind of grabs me is that, let's say that they never spoke to Chad, and Chad told everyone he knew, I saw these UFOs in the sky. What is going to make that more significant, I guess, in the big picture, as to like hundreds of other people who say that they saw UFOs? Like, is it that dangerous to get out there? Do you know what I mean? Like,
and
unless
I
they conclude that certain individuals are more likely to kickstart especially in today's day and age of instant communication. I mean, in this instance, you were relaying in real time exactly what you were seeing to somebody else who wasn't in a position to see it. And then perhaps they thought that a wildfire could start and wanted to stomp it out fast.
Well, let me propose a very out there idea. The idea, okay, so everybody's on the internet, everybody's on social media, everybody's pretty much profiled, whether you think of that or not. I mean, if you're on the internet and you got social media and stuff like that, they know who you are and what you like and stuff like that. That's something that guys like us probably already know, right?
Yeah.
So
Sure,
yeah,
advertising companies have that amount of information.
yeah, so I mean,
everybody does.
if everybody is profiled, then they probably know who's more likely to go somewhere and talk about this in a wider audience. And I mean, just to put the proof in the pudding, you're here on our show,
Here we are.
right?
Not
So maybe
I've been
that's it. They know that your personality type and that you would talk, and so here we are. So
I have another theory. I have another theory on that too that I've discussed before, and a friend of mine in the Air Force actually clammed up and stopped talking to me over it. I actually do have the theory too that what we're told they can only track X amount of the sky. I personally think really that when something's about to land or if they know that there's something coming, they're monitoring that landing and waiting for it, and then that gives them a good idea on the radar just who's around.
Yeah, and they could probably. I mean, if I were thinking from their technological point of view and what they have access to, if I were monitoring an area that I knew, we were expecting some kind of landing or appearance from a UFO, kind of area, I would tap into the phone lines in that area. I'd have keywords set up like they do for certain things anyway, but I mean, set up for UFO, alien, lights in the sky, and just zone in on those lines as it's happening. So I mean, they could have zoned. I mean, maybe that's how they found you in the first place. Like,
It very well could be, and so what ended up happening after the first. I'm hearing that there's people looking for me. They came to my door. I did eventually get in touch with my friend T, and she was hysterical when I finally got a hold of her. I didn't actually call her on the I called her on the phone, and she was just hysterical and told me something. I did eventually go talk to her in person and said, I want you to tell me to my face what she told me on the phone. She said two men came up to her wearing suits, and keep in mind she's from Bosnia, so things like that kind of already scare her. She said that they told her they had knowledge she was on the phone with me on that particular night, and that she's not to tell any of our friends what I told her over the phone, and that she was asked to tell me that I need to shut up about it, but that she specifically spoke to any of our friends, and she said they named them. They named three of our friends and said they'll die if you tell anybody what your friend told you on the phone.
wow.
You tell him that we're looking for him, that he needs to shut up. So I stopped talking for a while, but I started asking more questions. I eventually got in touch with people in a group that had talked about the Phoenix Lights. That's where I learned. And this was sometime later when I didn't talk for a while about it. I got quiet, okay, and didn't see anything, kind of out of sight, out of mind. And then somebody had asked me, about, did I see the Phoenix Lights? I said, yeah. They said, were you visited by men in suits? I said, I've been visited by men in suits, but not over the Phoenix Lights. That's where I learned about the existence of the Men in Black. And they told me how they've been stalked by them. The initial reporters of the Phoenix Lights have been stalked by these guys. But what got me though is that, and their thing gets me is that these people told me that they were only visited about maybe 3 times, where me for the past 10 years I've seen them. Even when I was in Utah, I lived in Utah for a little while and told people about what I saw here in Arizona, and I saw the vehicles again, like they keep tabs. So I seen something I wasn't supposed to see. I think maybe there's other things that have happened, but I'm not sure. but significantly for the last 10 years. Whenever I talk about what I've seen, or I talk about the fact that the MIBS has been following me, I eventually start seeing black vehicles. As I told you the week before I got in touch with you guys, before I found you guys, I've been trying to reach out and find someone to talk to. From emailing Art Bell, which I didn't realize there was no point in that. I didn't know he had retired.
Yeah.
Uh, and then I tried to contact anybody I found on YouTube. I saw that vehicle again, and right before I got in touch with you guys, and I turned to look at my wife and say, "Hey, right there, this is what I've been talking about since we got together. That vehicle is gone. There's no way that vehicle had time to pull out, turn around, and take off without me seeing it, or without them being seen. Period.
That's
They
very
were gone.
interesting.
Like,
Actually, Dan Aykroyd has a little clip where if you look it up
I've
on
seen,
YouTube, yeah,
I've seen it when I was. A little off topic here. Somebody asked me if I thought Victor is Bob Lazar, and I came across that clip when I was watching the alien interview. I've read that. I've seen that clip, and it was after. And keep in mind, it's not the first time this happened to me either. I've seen the vehicle there. Somebody get out, mean mugging me, and then I turn back around and they're gone. And I saw that, and I was like, "Holy shit! I'm not the only one. I'm not alone. I'm not alone in this."
So how long after your initial experience with the MIB, how long was it before you realized that, this was a thing that also happened to other people?
I stayed after T had told me that her and our friends were threatened. I stayed quiet for about 9 months. I didn't say anything because I didn't want anything to happen to my friends. I wasn't, it's like, okay, these people I don't know, these people she doesn't know, they know who I am. They know who she is. They found her, and I was on the phone with her. They know who my friends are. What else do they know? And I decided they're serious. They'll kill they'll kill my friends just for me talking about what I've seen. So I stayed quiet and then researched Phoenix Lights and found a group, and that's where I found out, hey, other people have been visited.
So about
And
9 months later.
yeah,
So this
because
this this experience happened like 10 years ago, right?
yes,
So
yes,
and it's still like it's a relevant today in your life. I mean, they still follow you and such. But so in the beginning, when this first happened, of course, they came to your door and threatened you. They, for the first little bit, I mean, they were going to your friends and talking to them. Uh,
they
did
want to keep it quiet.
Yeah, did they ever pop up again throughout the 10 years to like personally
They
to threaten or to your friends?
they have with me because like after that 9 months, I was hanging out with a friend. We went to the store, just to go get some soda, some snacks because we were getting ready to watch a wrestling pay-per-view. And he had mentioned that he saw something weird. I was like, yeah, weird. You mean like what I saw out there behind the mountains? He said, what are you talking about? And I told him, well, okay, I'll tell you what I saw. And all of a sudden, this guy I'd never ever seen before, kind of dressed, in everyday clothing, but it's somebody I'd never ever seen before, and got this eerie presence. Happened to approach us while we were looking at chips and dip, and he looked, and this was right after I told my friend about what I'd seen and the fact I got visited by the Men in Black. And again, this guy that I'd never seen before looks at me and says, things like that can sound ridiculous, and the wrong people may not like hearing about it. You ought to keep such things like that to yourself, such nonsense. And he walked away. He walked away.
That is really
And
bizarre.
I started asking around. I said, hey, I knew people that worked at that store, and said, have you ever, and I tried to tell them what this guy looked like, and they said, that doesn't sound familiar. One of them pulled up the security camera and said, I've never seen him ever. And I've worked here for 7 years. I know everybody here. I've never ever seen him. And we never saw him again. And that's happened many more times in the last years. When I talk about it somewhere in public or make a reference to it, ever so often there'll be somebody I've never seen. I'll get this presence. It's like, oh shit, here we go. I'm not saying I'm used to it. I'm never ever ready for it. You're never ready for it, but you get that feeling, and then well, shit, they're still keeping an eye on me. It makes me wonder, what the fuck did I see? What was so goddamn important about it? They're still want to keep it quiet.
Well, that's the thing, right? I mean, what a significant amount of time and resources, to follow one person for 10 years and, well, basically infiltrate. I mean, if they had a guy there just to kind of give you that warning, and every time that you speak about something, I mean, they must be around you all the time.
And that and it's because of that. It's because of this past 10 years, and I know that I see those vehicles ever so often when I talk about what I saw there in 2004, or I sometimes make a reference to it. Wondering what I seen and the fact that they're bound to turn up. I'm probably bound to see vehicles after this podcast, and I'll let you guys know. I'll message you on Facebook if or when it happens.
Yeah,
That's why
definitely.
my email address is foreverchased@gmail.com. Which, anybody listening to this, if you want to talk to me, if you want to ask more questions, feel free to email me, foreverchased@gmail.com. Cheap plug, yes, but that's why I have that email address, because I feel like by the rest of my life they're gonna be following me around. Sometimes I wonder, has something else happened to me? It's possible something else has happened to me, and there's significance in it, or these men in black are those aliens. I do believe they're a combination of humans and extraterrestrials, and that sometimes they like to gather together. The humans like to deliver the warning. The aliens will do the dirty work because they don't want people knowing they're here. I don't know.
Well,
I always find it interesting how people describe the almost that primal kind of predator response, where we're looking at them as almost like a predatory threat. And you hear from people that they just want to get away, they want to withdraw, and those are very primal, ancient drives that there's something unnatural in our environment, and we just want to immediately withdraw from it to a place of safety. And I think that is a very significant part of this. I think it's a telling byproduct of the experience.
well, one thing I want to point out is that, okay, so the part where you talked about how you went online to a place that you normally read UFO stuff, and
Yeah.
and you wanted to post your story and you were banned, right?
Yeah.
Well, I want to just point out a couple things about that, because like every time me and Ryan interview someone like you that say the MIB, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm half wondering if one of these days we're gonna do one of these interviews and Ryan or I are gonna be visited. Like, to stop doing podcasts on that or we'll kill you. Kind of a thing. And luckily we haven't had that yet. But in the case of being banned from an online thing, so one of the things that I guess one of the only bizarre things, and it might be just a fluke coincidence, but now that I'm here, in case there's someone listening that knows, every now and then I'll kind of like Google our effed up stories and just see where we are, if there's any new kind of stuff other people are talking about within regards to our show. And I do find some stuff. And one time I did this, and there was like a forum post or something like that from a site called godlikeproductions.com. And so I'm guessing someone who saw our show or something like that was on there talking about it. And so I clicked on the link, from a Google search, and my IP had been banned from that site. I've never been on it before in my life, and my IP was banned. So, and this was the case because I know that your IP kind of auto renews every couple days. And but anyway, like there must have been some kind of a permanent or like I guess a section of IP addresses that mine would auto renew from that were banned. And after some time, I ended up switching internet providers actually, and it occurred to me that this had happened. I remembered, and I just wanted to go back and try to see if I could get in there, and I could. Finally I could access it. So I don't know if it's like I pissed somebody off in the comment section that runs that site, or something of that nature, or if it was an accident, or if it was just the fact that again, that somehow, like, we touched on a subject. So if anybody knows exactly from that site what had happened, I'd be interested to I guess hear why, if they had banned us and why.
I couldn't tell you, but I do know that after I learned about the existence of the Men in Black, and and after I'd learned a little bit more about UFOs, I actually had the privilege of being taken to another state with some friends where I'm not a supporter of his anymore, but Stan Romanek. You know who Stan Romanek is, correct?
It sounds
Yeah,
really
certainly.
familiar.
Yeah,
I know who he is.
Stan Romanek is the president of I believe, the International UFO Congress,
Okay.
and he shared his story of what happened with the Men in Black and his experience, and he said the same thing along the lines that author Jim Keith has said, that sometimes you see something and now you know too much, and so they'll go to any lengths to keep you quiet because you know too much, or you saw too much, you're too close to something. And that's what I think maybe it could be. You had a guest on that knew a little too much, and they banned you from that site just to kind of be like, "Hey, excuse me, you know too much. You ought not talk about. You ought not. You ought not have guests that are talking about things like that."
Well, I guess the only thing I can think from Ryan and I's point of view, I mean, we've only had a handful of paranormal experiences ourselves, which, by the way, really seems to pale in comparison to like everyone we have on the show. The one thing I guess that we have is a platform in which that we can put other people who've had actual, really meaningful paranormal episodes, and we can kind of spread it around. So that would be our only real, our only real contribution, which I guess, it is a contribution if we're putting it in the limelight.
And I'll say this, you guys are doing wonderfully with it. I mean, the fact that I've been spending, a long time trying to get this story out here to whoever was willing to give me the time, and you guys are the first, and you'll probably be the only, unless someone picks up on this and they want to talk to me again. But you guys have a wonderful contribution. Maybe you guys should just do an episode where you're interviewing each other, giving your experiences.
I think we did do that in the beginning.
Yeah, we have our earliest episodes are
that's
some of
before
our
we had
experience.
the gall to go after anyone else with any stories. So it was just like we did ours,
Right.
and we ran out of material. It was like, shit, we got to do something.
And yeah, it's like I know I mentioned in one of my messages to you guys that I was going to consider writing a book about this 10 years of being chased, but then I thought back to author Jim Keith, and I don't feel like dying of a sprained ankle.
Yeah.
And that was done because he wrote the book. He knew too much. He exposed the existence, and they killed him for it, and I don't want to be one of those statistics, but I know.
Well, and right now we're looking at I do believe that Nick Redfern and Chris O'Brien either have done a show or are going to be doing a show very soon here, talking about the sudden deaths, a lot of very exotic cancers, and a couple of other kind of strange deaths that all relate to UFO researchers over the last 2.5, 3 years now. There's been a constant. In fact, I haven't seen an update, but I guess who could be considered, or who I personally consider to be one of the pinnacles of the UFO researcher community,
Oh, yeah.
Stan Freeman. He
Yes.
just recently had a heart attack.
He's actually doing well now. After you told me that, at least that's what I found when I
I,
Well,
Googled
that's
it.
I,
good.
yeah,
That's good. I'm glad to hear that.
I'm glad to hear he's doing all right because he's an important member of the field. In
Not
you
too
know,
many other nuclear physicists doing serious research on UFOs.
not at all. And like another thing that gets me with the Men in Black is anybody knows Bob Lazar, other than the fact Bob Lazar was known to be a hoaxer. Possibly, it's alleged. Bob Lazar got visited by the Men in Black, is what's found out. Because when he was asked, he got very quiet because some people close to Bob Lazar had died, and the
Mhm.
question was asked, if you worked at Area 51, you're blowing the whistle. Why aren't you dead? Or do you know something more about the MIBs? And he got very quiet and just said, I don't do UFOs anymore. And that's the same thing that happened to Dan Aykroyd, I think, is he knew somebody knew too much. They canceled his show. And I don't think it's going to happen to you guys. You guys probably don't really pose a threat, other than the fact that here I am talking about the Men in Black.
Yeah,
And
I don't think we're big enough. And it's kind of a good thing. Like we're not quite big enough or quite in the know enough. I don't think to. I mean, all the material we find is like it's already on the net, or somebody just kind of
It's already
comes to us.
public domain.
Already
Yes.
comes to us, right? And I like it like that because I don't
exactly.
have to worry too much.
Well, I guess
Exactly.
let's explore the question, William. If we were approached by men in black suits showed up at your door today, would we cancel the show, or would that be the material for our very next podcast?
That is a good question. I wish they could just like make me include
You know
it
what my answer would be.
Yeah, you don't. I'm going to tell you this right now before you say anything, Will. You don't. You don't want this experience. I'm going to tell you that firsthand. You don't want this experience because I, what I've come to my conclusion with the Men in Black. I mean, I'm not concluding the subject because I'm not done. But with the Men in Black, they are the reason you look over your shoulder. They're the reason you sometimes you stay quiet. They are that fear that that makes you just question every single thing. It makes you think twice. Did I see that?
Well, of course, I definitely would not want to be hunted by them. Although it's a little bit exciting to think that they'd show up at your door just to kind of put that, I mean, you read about it, you can believe in it, but to have it, you're there, you experience it. It would really put that, faith.
And I'm just that's why I'm telling you that now because I was one of the people. Oh, Men in Black, like the movie. No, it's like hardy har har, and then next thing you know, you're suffering a month of extreme paranoia. You're afraid to step out the door, but you have to do it.
The
But
re-
then you got the feeling you're being watched.
the real question is, if given the choice that you keep your mouth shut and join them, or shut up and leave, what would you pick? Because secrets are juicy. Everybody wants to know the secrets, and I guess that that's why we're here
Well,
doing the.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, that's why we do the paranormal, and we delve in these mysteries. We don't have an answer, but
Exactly.
we want to know, right? But if they came to you and said, "We'll tell you everything you want to know," but you're in our group. Once you spill the beans, we'll off you, kind of a thing. I mean, what would you guys pick?
Oh, well, I would have to be in the know.
Yeah, me too. I'd join them. And I know it's not going to be a popular opinion with our guests, since our whole goal is to, put the knowledge out there. But I mean, screw it. I want the knowledge. I mean, ultimately.
So the question is, if I could join them, or if I could spend the rest of my days living in fear of them, which would I choose?
Yeah.
That's definitely a tough question. Because for me, there's the pros and cons of both sides, really. So I think I'd have to actually sleep on that one.
Yeah. It is a tough, Well,
obviously, Chad. Let me ask you this. Now, this experience that you had with the Men in Black, did it help? I mean, obviously, you seen something in the sky that night. You were fairly certain it wasn't a known or even terrestrial man-made object, or at least a man-made object that we know man can make. Did their presence, with them showing up, did that legitimize the more exotic thoughts that you had about what you've seen? Did that say to yourself, make you say to yourself, "Oh my God, that had to be aliens if these guys are here"?
Oh, you damn betcha. After everything that I had, been reading and studying, because I'm an aspiring ufologist, which isn't a very popular thing, but I don't give a shit. But after everything I've been reading and hearing, whistleblowers being off, all that did, as soon as they're at my door, first thing I thought was, I did see that. It does exist, and that's all it solidifies the fact that they like to come by every so often, and let me know, hey, we're still watching it. It's like that. All they're doing is legitimizing what I saw, and that there is life beyond this planet.
Well, that must be kind of scary, just the fact that, I mean, okay, for me and Ryan, never having been visited by the Men in Black, I've seen UFOs like a couple times. I know, Ryan, you've seen. Well, hell, you had that video. I remember that video. Which, by the way, what the hell ever happened to that? But
yeah, no doubt.
But anyway,
Aha! Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I'm sorry, Will. Ryan had a video of this.
yeah, actually, when I first met him, like, geez, a long, long time ago now, he had this video. It was in the daytime actually, and he was holding a newspaper or something like that, in just such a way to block the sunlight in such a way that you could apparently see UFOs. Something that he read or something like that somewhere. But you could.
It was a method for filming UFOs, and what I had done was I set the camera up at a certain angle that it actually blocked the corona of the sun. If you just get just behind something, so it blocks the sun, and then you film in that region around the sun that normally you wouldn't be able to see because everything's washed out by the very bright light. And what I caught on film was very distant diamond shaped, or well, it was a square on its side, so it looked like a diamond shaped object.
Yeah.
Flying through the sky in broad daylight, and that tape actually became damaged somehow. It would no longer play. I had it for a couple of years, and I had attempted to upload it onto the internet several times and couldn't. I mean, that was that was well over a decade ago, and I was using
Answer me this though, Ryan. Before that tape got damaged, anything unusual happened? Any unusual occurrence happened before that tape was destroyed? Was no longer working?
That's a good question, and it's one that I really wish I could answer. That time of my life was fraught with so many weird things
Anything that stands out, somebody holding you up, some kind of a random phone call, like a summons, a traffic ticket, something that wouldn't normally happen.
No, it wouldn't have been. I was actually pretty young back then when I done that. I think I may have been 17 or 18. I didn't have a license or anything, and I just remember coming home. I might have even been younger than that.
Didn't even
I
have
remember
a beard.
coming home and popping the tape in, and it was one of those small ones that you had to put inside of a bigger tape that would actually fit in the VCR. And I put it in and hit play, and it was all just static. Like it was all it was just
as if maybe nothing had ever been recorded on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Or if someone took a giant magnet to it, maybe.
Yep. If you ever magnetized a tape, it was similar to that.
Oh, because the reason I'm asking, maybe something happened with your parents have an unusual visit or something like that, because that's another thing that I've studied, that I know that the Men in Black have been known to do, is they'll go in and swap it out, like put a blank tape there and just walk off with your tape, because it's funny too, because I tried to look up the records of the phone company to confirm with ufologists I was talking to that had been on the phone with my friend T that night, and the phone company AT&T, they couldn't pull up the records for that time, even though it's very recent. They couldn't pull up the records for me. They wouldn't.
That's interesting. I think
They're,
the only thing I can really point to at that time is that that was around the time that I started experiencing extreme amounts of paranoia. I would think that there was something lurking around outside my house. I remember that
okay.
there was a
It-
stretch of period where I would have panic attacks sometimes. I
and
was young,
you,
but I smoked cigarettes when I was a kid, and I
yeah,
remember going out on the back patio, and sometimes I wouldn't even finish it. I'd just come back inside because I'd get this very eerie feeling that there was something lurking around.
or maybe someone like you
Or
showed the tape. You showed the tape to everybody,
Oh yeah, actually, absolutely everybody. Yeah,
and
neighbors, people who didn't want to listen, people that wanted to listen.
and maybe
I Yeah,
and
that's
maybe
me.
po- and maybe possibly seeing a vehicle that maybe didn't belong there,
Um,
or maybe
I
some.
no, I don't think I ever did, but I mean, I'm not even sure. I mean, I was aware of the MIB phenomenon, but I guess
Because
at
you're
that
because
time I didn't think I would ever in a million years ever be a target of something like that. I just, it's
it's
been so
just
long.
it seems to be that everything you're talking about, I'm noticing everything you're talking about is a lot of things that happened to me. I mentioned the initial visit. I became very paranoid. I didn't want to leave the house because I was afraid. I was having to look over my shoulder. I was looking out the window, which I still do from time to time. That's how I know I'm being watched. And it's just like, well, shit, because you're describing a lot of things that I've been through, and other people have been visited by the MIBs or watched by the MIBs. Is everything that they were telling me too. Panic attacks, feeling very paranoid when they never did before, just the feeling of constantly being watched. And another thing that I want to point out too, that within this 10 years is back in 2010, T was married to a Marine. I met her husband, and after I met him, a few days later, I got in contact with him, and I was like, "So how you doing? How you doing, dude?" He said, "Did you ever see anything weird, maybe unusual?" I said, "Yeah, why?" He said, "Well, let's just say I got intel on you, and I don't ever want to hear you talking about fucking UFOs or any of that bullshit around me or my wife."
Yeah, that's pretty abrupt.
That just all that did was solidify something more that I saw. I just said, "Did I see someone was supposed to?" He said, "We're not talking about it. Case closed. Shut the fuck up while you're around me and my wife." He's like, "I don't want you talking about any of that because I don't need your bullshit."
While we're
So
on the, sorry, go on.
I'm saying all that does is more solidify that I definitely saw something I wasn't supposed to, and that's the extent that the Men in Black will go to keep whistleblowers and people that see something legit keep us quiet. Sometimes maybe I'm thinking maybe they won't make a visit, but they'll be watching you because Ryan is what Ryan's talking about. I think they were watching him for a while, and that they may have spiked or destroyed his tape.
Well, while on the topic of, strange, I guess meetings with people, I mean,
Yeah,
uh, geez, I never thought to bring it into this light before. I mean, I've always been obviously interested in the paranormal and UFOs and stuff like that. And
of course.
I just thought of okay, so I was in this really really small town. This was back in like 2007, I think. Me and my wife were going to college in this town, and we were staying in this pretty large apartment building. And one night, we saw what we're pretty sure was a UFO. Now, this didn't happen right away. It happened a little bit after the fact, but I mean, I was talking to people about it, obviously, because it was pretty spectacular to me when I saw it. And one night, this guy, and Ryan, I probably told you this before.
Yeah, I know the exact story you're going to tell, and I never ever thought of it either. Go ahead.
I want to hear it.
Well, this guy, who I would put him at 40, 50 years old. He's kind of shorter than me. I'm like 5'10", 5'11". He was wearing this kind of, I guess, tanned winterish jacket. He had these big glasses and this black hat, kind of older and kind of bigger, thick, I guess.
Yeah.
And I didn't know who the fuck he was, but he came and he banged on my door when it was like one night, it was around 7 or 8 or something like that. And he said, come help me move a bed. And I was like, what? He's like, oh, come on, it'll take a minute. And it's like, it's just, I don't even know the guy, right? And he's like banging on my door, like as if I knew him, like to come help him move this bed. And I was like, dude, I was like, I got homework and, he bugged me to do it. Like he asked me 4 or 5 times and I finally had to shut him out. But I mean, that guy, when he left the building, cause like it was so weird, right? Like, and like I kind of watched to a degree out the window and I talked to my wife and I told her, I was like, I explained what happened and how weird it was. He never even came back in the building with a bed. Nobody came back in the building. So I don't know if it was a serial killer or
somebody trying to lure you out. Yeah.
But now it makes me wonder if because I mean, Ryan and I used to keep contact and talk about these strange things that we came into contact with and stuff. I mean, that's kind of where the idea for the show came from. But now I wonder if I had seen something or said something and here was this guy.
I think possibly because I've heard like there's a recorded thing of this on an episode of Unsolved Mysteries that I was watching last night. I found something on YouTube and they did that to another guy. I think his name's Jose. I forget what his last name is, but he had a tape of a UFO sighting. He got served a summons by a bunch of men in black with black suits with dark sunglasses. It was the Men in Black.
I think I know the episode you're talking about.
He went to go deal with the summons, brought his documentation. They said, okay, you're done. Went back to his house. His tapes had just been disheveled and thrown all over the place.
He managed to hide one though.
The tape they were looking for is the one he hid.
Yeah.
Sounds like they wanted to get you out and may have you help them with a bed, so they go through your shit to see if you found anything. Because I know that's another thing that's happened with me since after that 2004 sighting was that my car had been gone through. I don't know who went through it. Nothing was missing. My car had been gone through.
Well, I will say that guy, he really creeped me out. Like, and I'm again like, I'm not creeped out that easily. I mean, there was nothing really about his appearance, that I'd be scared of him, attacking me like normally. But there was something really shady about him.
Not all encounters with them are like that. I think when they want to keep you quiet, they'll send what I can only assume are the extraterrestrial agents of the Men in Black, for lack of better term. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. It was just bizarre, right? And like just thinking about the time frame of when this happened and stuff like that. But I think that's my superpower, is that I attract really strange people to me. My life is peppered throughout the strangest people. And I mean, some of them are interesting. I mean, some of them became my friends. But then I meet these really fucking crazy people that I had people stalk me. I had people do all kinds of strange shit. And I mean, the kind of stuff that you'd read about and be like, man, these guys should be in an asylum somewhere. But they're out there, and I fucking attract every one of them to me. I don't know what it is about it, but,
It's so true.
Yeah.
That's kind of the story of my life, too. I mean, I have ideas that I may have had other encounters. I know I've seen more than just those UFOs, but these ones attracted the wrong attention because I know I saw something I shouldn't have. I have sometimes I wonder if maybe I'm an abductee because I don't know. I might be. Maybe that's why they're keeping such an eye on me. But I know I've had other encounters.
Well,
go ahead.
Let me ask you this, Chad. Have you had any other just strange experiences that you can remember in general?
You mean since I started being forever chased?
Even before that, like just anything strange at all, like abnormal, like not normal, like I don't know. You saw a ghost, you saw a UFO, you saw something.
Oh, don't get me started on ghosts, man. I could do a whole another podcast with you on that one.
Well, see, what I come back to, and Ryan and I talked about this a long time ago, and
It's such a common theme, hey?
it is everybody who seems to have had a paranormal experience is not an isolated incident. It's like you have one. No, you don't have one. You have dozens. It's like your life is just, peppered throughout with these different experiences. And I don't know what it is, because then you have all these people who've never experienced anything. It's all bullshit to them. But the people who have it happen to them, man, is like their whole life. It's like you can't get away from it. And it's just interesting because it's like people are marked, right? It's like this guy.
It seems that way, but I can tell. What I can tell you is that with Ghost Man, if you ever want to do a podcast on that, I can give you a good couple of podcasts on that. But like I haven't had experiences with that. But also, like, I know I've seen other UFOs, but some of them it's like, did I see that? So there's one that I can't be sure of, because I'm surprised it didn't bring Mib's attention then. But maybe it's just because I was too young, maybe back then to really get a good grasp of it. But yes, I've had experience with ghosts. I've been a part of an exorcism, a couple of them actually. I didn't perform it, but I was there. And that's just that I'll tell you, man, that's a whole nother, to quote Ryan Dunn, God rest his soul, son of a fuck you.
Well, Chad, shit, man, we'll probably take you up on that. Because I mean, all that stuff is our bread and butter. We're not tied to one theme. I mean, shit, I love all that stuff.
Like I said, I've been listening to your podcast, so I have a good idea of what it is you guys like talking about, and you've got my email. You changed my username recently on your site. I'm not going to hide that one. That was me. And again, I'm on Facebook. I've been plugging you guys, maybe not Facebook, because my family, and I guess maybe just to even test up better, I'm a pagan, and my family doesn't really like that, and they don't like, huh?
It sounds like Ryan and his dad growing up. Except Ryan wasn't a pagan. If you heard our demonic possession episode,
oh man,
what's funny about that? I should point this out. I laugh about this all the time. But before we did that one, because it's a sensitive topic for Ryan. He didn't really want to.
I don't blame him.
Yeah, he didn't want to talk about it, right? And we kind of agreed that we weren't going to talk about it, and we got in so far. I was like, fuck it, man. Come on, Ryan. Let's just. And I put him on the spot, and he did it. And then after the episode, I was like, man, don't worry, Ryan. No one's going to see that. That's what we just started out. That's like our second most popular.
79,000 views later.
I'm 79,001. That was one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite ones. I listened to it. I've listened to it a few times actually.
Oh, the funny.
I feel bad for Ryan every time. First time. I keep in mind, first time like I heard that, I'm sitting there in the room. It's me and my wife, and also I'm like, "Oh, Will, fuck you." And she just looks.
And I still hear these things like his friend and his wife didn't know about it, right? And they went on some trip or something like that, and they went and downloaded some episodes.
They went on their honeymoon.
And they downloaded some of these episodes to listen to, and apparently that one came on, and neither one of them spoke during the whole rest of the ride home. And the wife didn't want his friend hanging around with him anymore, and all this.
I've known these people for years, and I never ever told them about that. And yeah.
Well, on some length though, there was like a balancing there, because Ryan dragged me into that, so I kind of think of that as like,
that's true.
They kind of evened it out a little bit, but I didn't do it to screw him. It was just in the heat of the thing, I really didn't think anyone was going to watch it. You know,
Yeah, that time that we didn't have too many viewers. No.
you know,
Yeah,
but
because I try to stay as, I don't call myself a skeptic. I'm a very unbiased person. I was that way as a teenager before I know I had my first UFO sighting. And then, like, again, the Men in Black, I told you I didn't really know who they were. I'd heard a little bit of it. It's like, well, whatever, it's neither here nor there. And it's like, well, there's confirmation. You just legitimize what I saw. Oh, bless me. Oh, wow. Oh, bless me.
that's the Men in
I always
Black.
get the-
They're choking you. Force choke. Right?
Don't underestimate the Mibs.
Yeah.
It's happened long enough too that yeah, I'm always scared, but I can also kind of laugh about it. Like, how pathetic is the fucking government that they got to keep these motherfuckers on me?
The government. I
we're-
don't even think the government's involved anymore. If they are, it's like the 5 people at the top
Well,
that's like living
hey,
underground that
Hey,
nobody.
my thing. They say they closed Project Blue Book. I think that's just a crock of shit
Yeah.
Yeah.
because it's fun. It's funny to me. A lot of people don't notice. Notice when Project Blue Book closed in the late '70s was around about the time Jesse Ventura came out as a conspiracy theorist, and hence one of the reasons he stopped wrestling, or he was about big. He was his rise in wrestling was starting to go down about that time, and first thing he started doing was asking questions about Project Blue Book, and all of a sudden Project Blue Book closes when everybody's looking into it. I doubt that it actually officially closed. I think that's just what they told us. I think that Project Blue Book and the Manager is still very much in existence and behind the Mibs and the killing of the whistleblowers.
Yeah. Well, the Project Blue Book had to be closed because the government had to come to a conclusion basically it opened up an investigation and it had to find a conclusion because, they're the government and they have to have all the answers for the millions of sheeple that, look to the government for truth. So they had to provide that. And then by officially declaring that they were done with the research on UFOs, which we all know that is not true. They put out an official document saying that we stopped researching UFOs at the end of Blue Book. And then, now there's literally archives filled with old FBI, CIA documents.
That could just be what they put out there. Personally, I think if Project Blue Book maybe is closed, maybe the name Project Blue Book is closed, but one of my theories really is that Area 51 isn't just the name of the testing site. I think Area 51 is also the name classification for the new Project Blue Book.
Oh, could very well be, but they claim officially that that after the closing of Blue Book that there was no other official government research done, and then 30 years later we get documents proving that was not the case. That 10, 15 years after Project Blue Book was closed, the government was still doing reports and whatnot on the UFO phenomenon. So even that statement that they made that we just don't research it anymore because we came to a conclusion, that even that we don't know for sure what it is that they're doing and where they're doing it, but we know that that they didn't stop researching it at the end of Blue Book. That's a fact.
Of course not, because if they did that, then yeah, I think they're just trying to satisfy some of the whistleblowers, but the fact that the Men in Black are still around, Blue Book really was closed, and why would the Mibs be going around telling you, "Hey, shut up"? Which
Exactly.
which they've done to me. Yeah, they do it to me all the time. And again, I wonder if maybe I see something more, but 10 years is excessive. That's why the other day, Will, when you said textbook Mibs, I said I doubt that. If it's so textbook, why have they been after me for 10 years?
Well, that's
Chasing me
textbook for
around.
some people.
For some people, yeah, but most of them are usually made 2 or 3 visits, and the occasional
well,
guy walks by.
those people are probably scared away after 2 or 3 visits and actually stop. But here we're on our show talking about your story 10 years later. So
one of my things too, and I'm not just gonna throw the full blame out there that they're just fucking with me and following me around. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna say something that a lot of people in my position will not admit. A lot of this, I can guarantee you, I brought on myself because I won't stop talking about it. I won't stop sharing my story. I won't stop talking about it. Maybe when the threats start coming in, I never did get the ominous phone calls, but I've gotten strange emails. I'll say that. I got ominous emails from people that I don't, from email addresses that suddenly were no longer there. Send me kind of some cryptic things, some things of, hey, you're offending people with things you talk about. You should stop, or shit like that in roundabout ways. So, but it's because I won't stop. It's probably why they still come after me. But it's 10 years,
What?
going on 10 years. This fall, that since I saw what I saw, and since this all started.
So you said that why it's difficult to actually describe the crafts that you've seen, that you'd be willing to, draw a sketch and submit it. I would be very interested in seeing that, because I mean, obviously, this is something that, like you said, this is 10 years. Whether or not you're still talking about it 10 years on, the fact that they're still there, I think, is significant, and it's one of those things that. Any bit of information that we could get on what these crafts look like, or anything, I think would be important,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sorry, Chad,
The
I
life.
cut out there for a second.
Oh, you're fine. The life. I said that'd be more than willing to draw that out for you and send you, get a picture of it and get on the Facebook for you. But one thing I could describe about the lights, that craft you explained you saw, the diamond shaped. Uh,
Yes.
I can't where the before I saw the craft. This is the interesting pattern I saw, and a few other people I know have seen it. You have you ever watched a satellite being pulled in?
Watching a satellite being
Like,
pulled in.
yeah, like if you ever look up in the sky when they say they're pulling in satellites from space, if you look up, they look kind of like shooting stars, but without the fire, the flaming tail. It
Well,
just
I
looks like
have seen satellites going across the sky.
yeah, and so you know that how and if they came to look the same way, but they're coming down, looks just like stars coming down. I saw
Yes.
that, and I saw what looked like satellites being pulled in or stars just falling down at a diagonal angle. And then all of a sudden I see this bright light coming over the Superstition Mountain from behind it, and it looked like the diamond shape you explained, except there were two diamond shapes within each other. One you get the actual diamond, another one like a diamond diagonally inside the initial one that's upright. That's what the light looked like, and then I saw the craft, and I saw that same thing. Like I said, another 3 or 4 times. I saw about 4 or 5 of them, but that's what the initial light looked like. Very bright, very blinding. I can describe it like it kind of yellow, but blinding.
Well,
See, it's very, very interesting the way you describe that, because one of my most major UFO sightings, actually, with now my wife, but geez, I must have been around 16, 17 years old, and we had taken a drive out to the beach on an ATV, and we were just kind of sitting back in the sand, enjoying the evening. The sun had gone down. The sky was all dark. It was just us there. We were watching these stars, and I started noticing that these stars individually started dropping out of the sky. And we watched it for a good hour. And I mean, like, to us, it looked like over the course of the hour, dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of these lights were just dropping out of the sky. And that was the curious thing, is that they didn't move straight down and they didn't go sideways. They went down and at an angle at the same time. And
Exactly.
that's what really struck us as weird. And the next
And they
morning when I got up, I actually phoned the airport and asked them, because I knew the cardinal directions, and asked them if there was, some kind of a air show or anything like that, because I'd seen a lot, like dozens and dozens and dozens of lights in the sky, and they, denied there being anything other than usual air traffic. It's an interesting way that you described it, because I that's probably one of my most significant sightings that I've ever personally seen.
exactly, and they won, and that's another point that I bring up. as mostly ignoring that Air Force lieutenant, he had told me that they were, when he started telling me about, they give me that bullshit song and dance about, the testing the new military aircraft. He'd also pointed out that there was a meteor shower that night. Here's the problem. I looked it up. There was no fucking meteor shower, because that's what meteor showers kind of look like, is stars falling at an angle, but there was no meteor shower documented happening at all that night.
Yeah, and
Well,
that was the other thing, was that like these stars, we watched them. They were stationary for, for an hour while we were there, and
yeah,
then over the next hour they just started dropping out of the sky. So, and that
yeah,
was, because people say, oh well, it was just, obviously it was comets, but I always like to point that out. It's like, no, these things were sitting there for a good 45 minutes or an hour, and then all of a sudden at some point they just decided to descend.
yeah, and there's no way that many stars are dying, and I saw that, and then all of a sudden I'm seeing all the
I should bring up Ryan. I don't know if you're hearing the same thing. I'm getting a lot of cutouts from Chad's
Yeah,
end.
sorry, Chad. I think your
yeah,
your connection
yeah,
must
no,
be.
I no, it wasn't my connection. I moved too far from my computer. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay.
I was trying to blow my nose and didn't want to do it right in front of your guys, right in your ear. Sorry about that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, oh hell, I hate it, and I'd be pissed at you for doing it.
I thought Ryan
Yeah.
liked that kind of thing.
Oh, gee.
Gets his goat every time. People blowing.
Yeah,
his ear.
what I was saying is that I know that I think that's just too coincidental that I saw those stars, and then all of a sudden, like I see all these stars falling out of the sky, and there's no documented meteor shower, but then I'm seeing these stationary stars falling all of a sudden, so many of them, that I see these 4 or 5 craft. What the hell is that? That's a classic sign. I know a few people that saw the falling stars, and then they saw their UFOs shortly after. So for me, that's a good sign that you're about to see something. It means either the sun kind of does like an eclipse for an extended amount of time, not just a cloud covering the sun, but fucking like eclipse like darkness for a few minutes, and then all of a sudden here comes the UFO, or you see the stationary stars start falling in mass numbers, and then here's the UFO, because that's similar to what I saw and similar to how both times the Phoenix Lights happened. A lot of people are wondering why these stationary stars start falling for no reason in mass numbers, and bam, there's the Phoenix Lights.
It's very, very, very true. So, when was the last time that you were personally approached by these MIB?
I'd have to say it was a week before I got in touch with you guys when I saw that most recent one. Are you talking about like it just approached, like they came
Like full on, they came right up to you.
right up to me? That would probably, I'd say probably while I was still back in Utah, just before Halloween. I was talking about what I had seen and asking somebody up there, well, have you ever seen anything like that around here? I hear there's sightings in Utah. You guys are just very quiet about it because you're the Mormon state. Ha 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 ha. And sure enough, somebody came out of a car, walked up and going, we don't see things like that around here. We don't appreciate being talked about, and things like that could get your mouth sewn the fuck shut.
It's pretty aggressive.
That is pretty aggressive. Now that just leads me into my next question, which looking at the time here might be our final question here. But now, if you were approached today, after 10 years of harassment, if you were approached face to face with two of these gentlemen today, what would you have any questions for them? What would you how would you react today?
Today, I'd probably just ask them, what is it that's got you so goddamn interested in me? If they're not going to intimidate me, if I get to ask them questions, what the fuck has you so goddamn interested in me that you've been doing this to me for 10 years? Just tell me what I saw, and I promise I will not go talking about it. Just tell me what I saw. What's so fucking important? What do I have to do other than stay quiet to get you guys to fuck off and stay fucked off?
That's a pretty good question.
Fair enough.
Because a lot of it's just anymore. It's a nuisance to me, and I'm just done with it. You know.
Yeah.
Well, what I'd like to do, actually, Chad, since you mentioned that you got ghosts and those kinds of stories too, if you want to just shoot me an email with a gist of a couple of them, you know, because like I'd be interested to see what you got with that too. And of course, you know, thanks for coming on to the show. And if you do have any run-ins with the MIB after this, especially because of this show, I'd especially be interested to hear it. And Ryan, again, like, you know, I don't expect me or you are ever going to see or hear because of one of these shows. But if you do, you let me know and we'll do some kind of submarine move.
Yeah.
And I odds are likely I could help you guys out with that, but that's really just kind of the gist of everything. They want to keep me quiet. They like to bother me every so often. Like I said, they're a nuisance to me anymore. If I was going to be erased, I already would have been. And I think they're human. I think they're also extraterrestrial. And anybody listening, if you want to share your stories with me, to have me share with these guys, if you're afraid to come out, email me foreverchased@gmail.com. I'm also a member of their website. You can message me, and then we'll go from there. Before I go giving out my official Facebook, just because I want to know you're legit before I go talk to you on Facebook. And as for the ghosts and everything, then yeah, just tell me what you want to know about. And
give me your most most intense, you know, whatever you have that's like really really you know, scare people. That's what we like to do. We're like the boogeyman on the internet. We like to scare people.
Man, then I've got a couple of good emails for you. Do you want to just message the Facebook to Ryan, or you gonna shoot me your personal email, Will?
You can either give it to Ryan or it's just will@effedupstories.com, like WILL at effedupstories.com.
Then I'll probably send you guys. I'll probably send both of you guys the message. Just make sure you both got it in case something happened between my email and yours, and then he'll have it on Facebook.
Yeah, cool. And of course, for anyone else out there listening, if you have, you know, paranormal stories, pictures, video, whatever, you know, we'd like to have it. So if you could just send it to us at actually just go to our website, effedupstories.com. That's EFFEDUPSTORIES.com. Go to the menu, submissions, fill out the form, submit. There's also all kinds of other content on there that, you know, we can't do in a podcast. So, you know, feel free to check that out as well. With that said, thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you, Chad, for being a guest.
Anytime. Send me a link to this podcast.
Oh, for sure. As soon as I get it uploaded, I just got to install some more software. I've recently downgraded to Windows 8.
Oh man!
I had to, because I had to give my wife my Windows 7 for like some online work thing she's doing. So I only play games on this thing for the most part anyway. So
yeah, that's cool. Just send it to my email or send me the link on Facebook.
Cool. Right on. All right. Well, this is Will Pender signing out. Good night, everybody.
Thanks again, Chad. Ryan Sharp. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Anytime, guys. Thanks for having me on, everybody. These guys are awesome motherfuckers right here.
Thanks. All right. See you guys.
Take care.
You too.